Looks like FedEx has left me a package here. What is this? What have we got today? Kemimoto Razor Pro XP fender flares. Houston, we may have a problem. We don't have a Pro XP, we have a Turbo R. Okay, so as mentioned earlier in the little preview thing, yes, we have some fender flares here from Kemimoto that I'm going to be installing on our 2022 Razor Turbo R. Like the door bags, and you guys may or may not have seen that installation video, I had reached out to the folks at Kemimoto and they sent me some door bags to try. Again, those door bags were for the Pro XP machine, and we were kind of doing some test fitting to see if they would work on the Turbo R and subsequently the Pro R machines. And we love them. We've been on a few rides and they're great. So got back with the folks again and said, hey, we need some fender flares. We typically ride and there's always mud. You always come across mud. So anybody that's had one of these wider machines, if you've got a Pro XP with a long travel kit, if you've got Turbo R, Pro R, these things are really wide and they're going to make a big mess. And so I think the solution to that problem obviously is going to be putting some fender flares on it. So let's open this box up, see what they've sent us. Okay, so I actually ran out of time yesterday and did not have an opportunity to do an install video. Let's go ahead and pick up where we were and let's take a look at what is inside this box. So I've already cut the tape and you guys could care less about that part anyhow. We got a whole bag full of push pins. We've got some full color instructions, which are really nice. And I'm probably actually going to go by the instructions this time rather than winging it like I did with the door bags. And then of course we have the actual fender flares. So let's take a couple of these out. Looks like fronts maybe, right and left. Look good, nice and thick. Got bends already in them, so they line up with the bends and the fenders. Like I said, right and left. And then of course the same thing for the rear. Opposing right or left, same thing. Yeah, these look good. Textured on the outside, nice matte finish to match the factory plastics, and then kind of smooth finish underneath. Which actually is nice because the mud and stuff will wash off of them easier. So yeah, let's take a few minutes, read over these instructions, and we'll get started putting these on. All right, so reading the instructions, we're going to start on the front driver's side, and it says to remove these two factory fasteners right here, which are going to be T40s. We'll pull those out, and you guys know that these things are about like a 10 millimeter. They're all over these razors. So then what we're going to do, we're going to kind of position this first flare up like this, and I'm going to take one of these T40s, start it back in this top one by hand, and then it'll kind of hang on its own that way, and pull this bottom one up, start it by hand as well. And I'm going to run these in just a little bit. I am not going to tighten these, and the reason why, these fender flares have slots on these two, and so obviously that's going to give me some adjustment in and out to get everything lined up with my machine. So like I said, just going to kind of get those started for now. I'm not going to tighten those. And now we're going to move on. So we're going to want to pull this up in this corner nice and tight. All right, so let's reposition this camera, and I'm going to show you right here. So what we're going to want to do, we're going to want to pull this fender flare up into that pocket nice and tight like that. And what I'm going to do is underneath, I'm going to put a clamp to help me hold this, because we've got 4 places that we're going to end up drilling into the factory fender and utilize the push pins that came with our kit. That's what's going to help hold this in place in conjunction with the two factory T40s. Okay, so I've got a little clamp put up here to help hold these in place. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go ahead and tighten up the two T40s. That way these are in the position where they need to be. I'm going to remove that, and in the instructions it says to use an 8mm drill bit. Here in the States, not many people are going to have 8mm drill bits. That equates to a 5/16. So again, we've got four positions right here, four locations rather, right here, that we're going to drill through and utilize the push pins. So I'm going to go ahead and do this one first. There's nothing behind it. A little bit of light pressure is all that's needed. Nice clean hole. Get our bag that's got the push pins. Probably should have done this before I started this segment of the video, huh? At any rate, we're going to push this guy through, pop him in place, and that's all there is to it. So we're going to do these other three now. All right, for demonstration purposes, I decided to turn the steering wheel and turn this tire out and give me a little more room to work, simply for you folks that are watching. A little bit better viewing angle for you. All right, so now that we have that hole drilled with the dullest drill in my toolbox nonetheless, we're going to put that push pin in, put him in place, and do these other two. Put one there and one more at the top. And that concludes the installation of the front driver's side fender. Scoot this back, take a peek. So yeah, looks good. Quite a bit wider than the factory fender, so I think that's definitely going to help. Okay, so I removed the three 10mm nuts and unplugged the taillight assembly, and it came right out. So now what we need to do, we need to hold this fender flare up here and kind of get it in position. And it's got this little tab that slips underneath the factory fender and over a little piece of plastic there where the taillight is, and that's going to kind of help hold that side in place while I get this pushed up here. And what we're going to do, we're going to take a couple of these push pins and just get them started to hold that fender roughly where it needs to be. And then, like the front fender, I'm going to put a clamp at the top because we've got some holes that we need to drill to put push pins up there as well. So I'm going to use this little clamp that I've got. I'm going to push this into that corner so that I don't have a gap in this area. Everything will look nice and flush from the outside. I'm going to push this in to where it's pretty well flush with that inside lip of the factory fender. You probably can't see that on video, but these two fenders are pretty much in alignment with each other right there. So I'm going to go ahead, drill a hole right here. And right here. And put a couple of push pins there. And I can move my clamp. Now I'm probably going to put it back here. Make sure everything's still aligned good. And right there. I'm going to go ahead and drill this one out. And I think even though there's a hole in the factory fender right here, it looks to be a little small. So I'm going to open it up. Actually, it was fine. Put a push pin there and put one right here. So that's pretty much got it in place. Now they've got a hole here, and I am going to put a push pin there, and then they've got two coming on the back that hang out over this taillight assembly. I'm not going to be able to get to those today because of the back bumper, and I don't have time to take the back bumper and stuff off for this installation, so I'm going to omit that. But if you were doing this, obviously you're going to want to drill a hole here and a hole there as well and put push pins into both of those. I am going to go ahead, let's verify that, yeah, nothing but free space right there. So yeah, we're going to go ahead, do the push pin right there. All right, so now that I have the front and rear fender flare put on the driver's side, I'm going to install both on the passenger side. Okay, just for reference real quick, I did end up going ahead and drilling these two holes out and putting the push pins in, and I did not have to remove the rear bumper to do it. This one, the drill bit lines up pretty easy. This one, I just kind of angled it in there a little bit. I mean, you're just drilling into plastic, so it's not going to matter. And once you push the push pin in place, you can't tell anyhow. So both sides are done. Got both of them done on this side as well. I'm going to put the taillights back in. We'll back it out and take a look at it. All right guys, so we've done probably a 25-30 mile ride today, and while it's been more dusty than normal here, we have gone through some mud holes, and I just want to report that I love the fender flares. They do in fact make a huge difference. Matter of fact, you can see the interior, the cab of the machine is literally mud free at this point. Say hi, babe. Hi, babe. So yeah, definitely a huge improvement, and are going to help tremendously on this wide machine. One other thing I want to mention of real quick is I was kind of concerned on my machine. I have a 35-inch tire, and I do not have a front sway bar, so when it's flexed out, I was kind of concerned that the tire might in fact hit the fender flare, and they have not thus far. We've gone down some pretty rough stuff in a couple spots, and they haven't hit anything, so that's a good thing also. Anyhow, definitely reach out to the folks at Kemimoto if you have any questions, and get you some of these fender flares. They work great. Thanks for watching. Hit that like and subscribe button.